All right, here we go. Today we have Robert Ladd, formerly of the Compton PD Gang Unit. Last time you were here was in 2017. You had your partner Blondie with you, who unfortunately passed away in 2021. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
I definitely appreciate you coming back today.
Glad to be here. Appreciate it. Yeah. It's too bad about Blondie.
Yeah.
He was a good man.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Did a lot of work.
He did.
Did a lot of work out there. Well, since last time, I actually read your book. And there were some interesting things in there that, I didn't know about you guys at the time when I interviewed you. Wow, like 7 years ago.
A long time ago.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. So I kind of want to start, earlier than last time.
Yeah.
So before becoming a cop, you actually were a construction worker.
That's correct.
Okay. And why'd you become a cop?
Oh, it's the old adage, you want to help people, so which ends up being bull crap after you become a cop, but that's really why you kind of get into it. It's got good bet. At the time I was married, I had a kid on the way. I was a reserve with Garden Grove PD for like 2 years. And so one of our instructors in the academy said, hey man, if you want to be the real police, go to Compton, because that's where I started my career. So I put in an application and I got hired full time there.
Right. This was 1983.
That's correct.
You were 24 at the time.
Yes. 23, 24.
23, 24. Okay. Now, when you first got there, there was, drugs in the neighborhood. There was heroin, there was PCP. But in 1983, crack cocaine started to hit the West Coast, and Compton in particular. What did you see when crack hit Compton?
Well, man, at first we didn't really know what it was, man. We kept jacking up these people, for PCP and other drugs, and they kept throwing these white rocks on the ground. Finally, we had them tested, and it's a thing called raw cocaine. And at that time, it was unheard of, man, and it just became an epidemic. Everybody started getting hooked on it, and it just got out of control. And it started like in 83, but about 1985, it was on. I mean, everywhere in Compton you went, it was like drive-up service. Every street had like a rock house that was like In-N-Out burgers. And you drive down the street and cars are just lined up ready to get this stuff. It was crazy. So as far as gangbanging goes, when I first got there and raw cocaine was introduced, we were having drive-bys and shootings all the time, but they had shotguns and 22s and just not very good weapons, you know what I'm saying? So these guys started making money hand over fist, and then they start buying AK-47s and M1s. They were buying some good weapons, So now we're having these drive-bys where these guys are emptying 30-round clips. So we used to have 1 or 2 gunshot victims. Now we're having 3 or 4 at a scene. Innocent people, innocent babies getting killed. It just started getting out of control.
Okay. And you and Blondie became essentially the 2-man group that was the Compton Gang Unit. But that was the entire gang unit was just you and Blondie.
Yeah, and Reggie Wright Sr.
Ah, okay.
Now, we had a gang unit prior to us. We didn't get into like 1988. The prior gang unit, we just had a shortage of people, so they disbanded the unit because we didn't have enough people in patrol. This was like in 1987. So in 1988, they said, hey, man, we're having so many murders and that we have to get a gang unit going, and we just didn't have a lot of people, so they put Reggie Wright Sr. in charge, and he picked Tim and I to be in the unit in 1988.
Okay. And when you talk about the 3 of you being the Compton Gang Unit, there were over 55 gangs in a 10 square mile radius, which is Compton.
That's correct. There wasn't one residential street in Compton that wasn't claimed by a gang.
Huh.
And we had some industrial area down by the 91 freeway. Of course, it wasn't claimed, but yeah, it was not one street wasn't claimed by a gang, either black or Hispanic gang.
That's crazy. So there wasn't a single street that was just a nice, calm residential street that didn't want to have anything to do with
right.
guns, drugs, violence at all. So everyone was essentially like held victim by these gangs.
Yeah, I mean, people were afraid to come out of their house. I mean, they took over the park, all the parks. They were selling drugs at the parks. We're having shootings. So naturally, no one took their kids to the park. Like these guys were just the good citizens were held at bay because of these gangbangers. They just took over the streets, man. And I mean, there was a lot of violence going on. So, I mean, I wouldn't let my kid go out and play, you know?
Right. Because at one point, Compton was a primarily white neighborhood, right? I think George Bush Sr. lived in Compton for a while.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
That was in the 60s.
Right. Then once the 70s came, you know, you kind of had the migration from the South, and it, you know, it started to change a little bit. And then you had white flight. Like a lot of the white residents started to move out and the black residents moved in. But instead of it becoming a nice middle class neighborhood, once crack came in and all the drug money, like you said, started to pollute all the streets.
Yep, exactly.
Crazy. Okay, so you guys are out there doing your thing in Compton, and DJ Quick, who was an underground rapper at the time,
right,
comes out with a song called Blondie.
Right.
About your partner.
Yeah.
And there's a verse in it. And I was actually trying to find the song. I couldn't find the song.
Right.
But there's a verse that says, Blondie, cut no slack, fuck with me, I'll put a bullet in your back.
That's exactly it.
Okay. So he's not talking about you, but he's talking about the guy you're with every single day.
Right.
When Blondie first heard that lyric, what did he think?
Well, he was kind of pissed off. You know, he's going, hey, is this guy threatening me or what? You know,
he put a bullet in his back.
Yeah. So he wasn't too happy about it, but I think it was years later. We had the Compton Christmas parade every year. Mm-hmm. And he was one of the main guys. What do you call the main guy at the parade? I can't remember him. But he rides in the back of the car. And so we saw him. He was at the end of the parade. So we drove up and he was sitting in the car. And me and Tim get out of the car. And DJ Quick, he goes, hey, man. Tim goes, hey, man, you wrote that song about me. What's up with that? Right? And he just started laughing. He goes, oh, Blondie, you know I was just kidding. I put you on the map. Right? So... He goes, I didn't mean nothing by it. So it was kind of squashed right there.
But, you know, he kind of did put him on the map because was anyone calling him Blondie before then?
Yeah, everyone called him Blondie because, of course, he had blonde hair, blue eyes, right? Yeah. But he made a name for himself by doing that. So as years went by and we started building up our reputation, that people would ask for us. So when they got arrested and they wanted to talk to somebody, it was usually always Reggie Wright Sr., right? He was the man. And then once Blondie and us, we got the reputation, they would ask for us to talk to us. So it really helped us, man, solve a lot of crimes.
Wait, hold on a second. I think I actually found it. Hold on one
There's
second.
I remember because there were some singers in the background.
Hold on.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, because when the song came out, I heard that Blondie was actually trying to find DJ Quick, and you guys couldn't find him anywhere.
Right. We couldn't find him.
But the song was playing in cars all over Compton.
We drive around and everyone's going, Blondie, yelling out the window, right? And we're going, what the hell? Why is everyone doing this all of a sudden? Now, we knew that was his nickname, but now everyone's singing this song. And finally, when we pulled somebody over, they played us a song, right? And they played it for us. And then that's when it was something like, you're just a motherfucking white boy that wants to be back. Black and fuck with me, I'll put a bullet in your back. So he wasn't too happy about it when he first heard it, of course.
I bet.
But it ended up helping us. So
yeah,
it really
in its
did.
own way.
It did. It really did. Everybody knew us, man. So
crazy. Okay. Now, leading up to NWA, did you guys ever bust Eazy-E?
Well, I know Tim chased him down in the hood one time. Because he used to sell drugs over there by Kelly Park because he lived over in that area, right? So he was out there selling drugs, and so Timmy did arrest him. Honest to God, I can't remember if I was with him or not. I probably was, but I don't remember it. But Timmy says he did. So I have to believe him. But it's kind of funny at that time because everybody was out rapping, and so we would like be walking. We'd arrest somebody over there by the park, and we'd walking people back to our car, and there'd always be one guy out there rapping about, another guy arrested. They're taking him in. They just be rapping about what's going on in the street. So that was pretty common back then.
Well, but later on, Eazy-E launched Ruthless Records, and then the NWA album, when it came Fuck the Police, which, unlike the DJ Quick song, was not an underground song. It was actually a major release, which got international airplay.
Put Compton on the map.
Right. I never heard of Compton before Eazy.
Nobody
I'll be
did.
honest. I was living in the Bay. I heard of LA, but I never heard of Compton.
Nobody did.
Nobody
10
did.
square mile city, you know,
Exactly.
and all of a sudden,
It's a suburb of LA.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly. But now Compton's on the map, and Fuck the Police is the biggest anti-police song, you could almost say ever.
Right.
You know, coming out of America.
Yeah, I agree.
Was Compton PD upset, considering you guys were at the epicenter of where that song came out of?
Well, the attitude was already there. The attitude, like, fuck the police, was already there with us. We were right in the mix with these guys. And it was, it was up against the gang members, you know? So every time you get a gunshot victim or you go to a crime, you show up at the scene, goes, fuck the police, all it handles myself, I ain't telling you shit. That was already the mentality. Mm-hmm. So when the song came out, it was already there to us. Now, other cops and other agencies, I don't know how that really affected them, but it really didn't affect us like you would think, like, that's fucked up, because we already knew the animosity and that stuff was already there between us. So it really didn't bother us, really.
Right. Didn't the FBI send a letter?
They did.
About it, and Eazy-E essentially used it as publicity. And
great. It made him more popular.
Exactly. Okay, so we fast forward a few years, and now Death Row is a big presence. With Suge Knight coming out of Compton himself. And things started to actually heat up. And then there was an incident at the Platinum Club in Atlanta where one of Suge Guy's main people, Big Jake, ends up getting killed, allegedly by Wolf, who was the head of Puffy Security. And Wolf is dead now, so we could talk about this. But I guess after Wolf died, this guy named George Williams became the main guy. Now, who was George Williams?
George Williams was a mob pyro, and the guy was a hitman. He's a straight killer. He was the real deal. But you can say that about a lot of these mob pyro guys, you know what I mean? But you want to know about Georgie? His name came up in a lot of murders. So,
okay, George Williams still alive?
I believe so. Yeah, I'm not positive on that. I don't keep track of him anymore, but I could be wrong.
Okay, so Suge Knight started having all these bloods around him. Like I said, Mob James, the Buntrees, the Neckbones, and a bunch of other guys.
Right.
But there was problems of having all these bloods around him because a lot of them would start to turn on Suge and try to extort him. So he felt he needed some actual cops in the mix as well. And I think he originally reached out to Reggie Wright Sr., who didn't want to do it, but then Reggie Wright Jr. came in the mix.
Correct.
Now, were you were working for Compton PD when Reggie Wright Jr. was on the force as well?
That's correct.
Did you have a relationship with him at the time?
Yeah. I had a good relationship with him. He's, I had a better relationship, obviously, with his father, but he was his son. So, we took care of him and worked well with him. So when he got injured in a car accident and he had to retire, that's when he started up the Right Way Security.
Right.
We had got intel that a few of the guys that was working for Death Row Records was planning on robbing and kidnapping Suge or holding them for ransom.
One of his employees?
Yes, homeboys.
Okay. Quasi-employees.
Yeah.
Were planning on kidnapping him and
robbing
ransoming him.
Yes.
Trying to get a ransom for him.
Correct.
Okay.
My father got that intel.
Got it.
My father just wanted to pretty much give him heads up. Say, hey, Shug, you know. And so we met. I remember the corner. We met at this dairy on the corner of Long Beach and Myrrh. And which happened to be in Southside Crips area, pretty much. But we met at that dairy, and we were talking. And Shug was like, you know, he rubbed it off, pretty much. I don't know if he believed it or not, but you know, knowing Shug, he just like, yeah, well, I'll deal with that. I don't believe that, but that's why y'all need to be over here watching my back anyway. That's pretty much what he said. Y'all need to be with me.
So what did you think when Reggie Wright Jr., who's the son of essentially your supervisor, right, in the Compton Gang Unit?
Right.
He's now with Suge and Death Row and all the Bloods, and it's kind of muddying things up a little bit in terms of the line between law enforcement and gangs.
Definitely. Well, at first, we didn't really care. Reggie retired. He has to make money, starts up security company. He's working for Death Row Records, making a lot of money. But where the conflict came in is he started hiring, you know, on-duty police officers off duty, you know, because they can carry a gun.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do this, things happen, you know what I'm saying? So you're at these places where incidents that happen, like shootings, murders, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the conflict. So these guys are involved with these guys who we know aren't, you know, Mob Piru. So it wasn't good. So our chief said, hey, look, man, we can't have this. So our chief said, hey, no more. None of you guys, none of the Compton PD can work for Death Row Records no more. But he put a stop to it, but people still did it anyway.
Right, because they wanted the money.
Right.
Right, so you essentially have Compton PD that's offering security for Mob Piru guys.
Yeah.
It's almost like flipped.
Yeah, it wasn't good. We didn't like it one bit.
Okay, were you offered a job at Death Row if you wanted it?
No.
No.
I mean, I probably could have, but the thought never entered our mind.
Okay.
No.
So in 1995, there was a party that was celebrating Doggy Style for Snoop Dogg. And there was a bunch of Crips and a bunch of Bloods. And DJ Quick was there. And he got into an argument, I believe, with some Rolling 60s guys. And a whole ruckus kind of ensued. And this guy named Kelly Jamerson, who was a Crip from the Rolling 60s, ended up getting essentially beaten to death. You know about this incident, right?
I remember hearing about it, yes.
Okay. And part of the problem was there was a bunch of off-duty Compton cops that were working this event.
That's correct. And essentially saw nothing. You see where the conflict starts, you know? So.
Right. And there's also some confusion as to, there was a Reggie Wright there. They didn't know whether it was Reggie Wright Jr. or Reggie Wright Sr. So the detectives actually contacted you and got you guys involved. And I guess they started to actually interview the cops. And like you said, no one saw nothing.
Exactly.
But these are actual cops.
Exactly.
Who witnessed a murder, but because they're being paid by Death Row, they didn't see anything.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's why we got pissed off. Because, hey, man, you know, you're still a cop. If you witness something, you got to tell us what you see. But they elected not to see anything. So.
Right. And the chief of police didn't fire him or reprimand him or anything.
No, he just said nobody else can work. You needed a work permit to work for him. So he said, that's it. No more work permits.
Uh-huh.
But so, like I said, people still lied and went and worked for him anyway so they could make extra money.
So people risked their main job
Yeah.
to make side money with Death Row.
Yeah.
How good was the money with Death Row?
It was pretty good. I mean, you know, it's easy. It's really easy money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Just sitting around.
Just sitting around and, you know, 99% of the time, nothing happens.
Yeah.
And you're making, I don't know how much he paid him, but it was good money.
Okay. Well, When did Orlando Anderson hit your radar?
Well, I mean, I knew him since he was a little kid. Him and Michael Duro were best friends. And
Okay.
I don't know if you want to go that far back, but he was with Lavelle Moore, and they tried to kill me and Blondie. They ambushed us at a McDonald's that was over there. It's not where it is now. It's on Long Beach Boulevard, down the street from where it is now. So we were coming out of the drive-through, and these three were Michael Duro, Orlando Anderson, and Lavelle Moore Duck. They were waiting in the bushes, and that was their that was, if they shot at us or tried to kill us, then that was their entry into the gang. So that's what they did. They start firing rounds at us, and me and Tim heard bullets hitting around our car, so we jump out, and these guys are running down the street to one of the main gang houses there. So we kind of cordoned it off, and they went in and arrested all three of them, and Lavelle Moore ended up being the shooter. They didn't really do nothing to Orlando or Michael Duro at the time.
So their initiation to the Southside Crips was trying to kill you and Blondie.
Yes.
But Orlando didn't actually shoot the gun.
No, either did Michael Duro. It was Lavelle Moore Duck. I believe that's his nickname.
Okay.
He was the main guy.
Was he arrested?
Yeah.
Well, all three of them were arrested, right?
All three of them were arrested, but nothing happened to Duro or Orlando. And why, I don't know. Because we just went on with our next day at work, you know. We didn't ask why nothing happened to him, but they did do something to Lavelle Moore, the actual shooter.
Okay. I mean, attempted murder on a cop.
Right.
Isn't that like 20, 30 years?
Well, they're juveniles, and I tried to tell, they were just young kids. I tried to tell this though at the time when this happened was the early '80s, right? When the rock cocaine epidemic was on, and these court system was just inundated with cases, and they were just overloaded with cases. So I seen these juveniles get away with attempted murder, to get probation on attempted murder. Okay, so I'm sure that's probably what happened with Orlando and Michael Duro, and Lavelle Moore took the brunt of what happened because he was the actual shooter. But we never followed up with that because we were so busy, man. It was on to the next day. But I know that's how the court systems were back then. So it's hard for people to understand, well, why didn't nothing happen to him? But it's just the way it was back then.
See, your history with Orlando Anderson goes back to him trying to kill you.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. That's deep.
Yeah.
Well, in 1995, Orlando Anderson and Michael Duro ran into a guy named Damon Long.
That's correct.
What happened there?
Well, there was an internal conflict between two factions of the South Side over narcotics. There was the Burrs crew and the Glencoe crew. This happened right around this time, and there was shootings going back and forth on both sides. So you had Keefe D, Orlando, Michael Duro, Corey Edwards were the kind of the Burrs crew, and then you had the other Glencoe crew. And this guy was the Glencoe crew, and they already had shootings going along, so they confronted him over on Glencoe Street. And Michael Duro was the actual shooter on this. I think he used a .45 caliber, if I don't remember.
Yep.
And so he shot him, and we arrested Michael Duro for that case, and we didn't have enough on Orlando, but we knew he was there just by, informants and witness statements. We knew he was with him.
Well, he didn't just shoot him. Michael Duro killed him.
Yeah, he gunned him down.
Yeah.
Killed him, and he ended up beating the case. Michael Duro ended up beating that case because we only had one main witness, and he left the state, which oftentimes happens in these gang cases. But our mentality is, hey man, so be it. Nobody wants to get involved. We'll get them on the next one. You know what I'm saying? Because these guys are crooks. They're going to commit crimes again. So you can't take it to heart. You just go, all right, they beat us on this one, but hey, we'll try to get them on the next one.
Okay. So you guys actually investigated this case.
Yes.
But because the witness ended up leaving the state, scared for their life.
Right.
They ended up beating it.
Right.
Okay.
And so, but Michael Duro got probation violation. So therefore he was in jail for a while, so he wasn't around when Tupac got killed.
Right. Well, before the Tupac murder in April of 1996, Orlando Anderson and DeAndre Smith, who later on is in the car,
right,
who kills Tupac, they run into a guy named Albert E.B. Webb,
right,
who was a Palmer Block Crip.
Palmer Block Crip,
Yeah, Palmer Block Crip. What happened in that situation?
Well, we know that they were at a party in the Nutty Block Crip territory. It was kind of neutral between Southside and Palmer Block. Now, Southside and Palmer Block had a feud going on between them. So DeAndre and Orlando at this party, and they see this guy from Palmer Block, and they get in an argument out front over what? We still don't know. But Orlando and DeAndre both have Mac 11 type pistols. And what we were told is Orlando hits Webb over the head with his gun, and his clip falls out of his gun. His gun kind of falls apart. And that's when DeAndre steps in and he pops the guy right in the head, kills him. So they get in their car and they leave, right?
Okay. Do you investigate this case?
Yes, that was our case. It was actually Tim's case and mine.
Okay, so now you have, well, Orlando is involved in one attempted murder of cops. He was right there during the murder of one gang member, and now he's tied into a murder of another gang member.
Right.
So he's got two murders that are associated with him.
Correct.
What happens with this particular case?
Well, we filed on DeAndre Smith, and it went to court. They didn't want to mess with Orlando because he was the prime suspect in Tupac's shooting. So the DA said we need more on him before we can go forward. That was the DA's decision, not ours.
Mm-hmm.
So we went forward. They brought in some alibi witness, and he ended up beating the case.
DeAndre Smith beat a murder case.
He beat the case.
Is this normal for murders to be occurring and it's clear as day as to who did it, and these guys just walk away from murder after murder?
Well, here's the problem, okay? Who are your witnesses? They're not good citizens. You're at a gang party. Nobody wants to get involved, all right? So if you do have any witnesses at all, it's like trying to pull teeth to get them to testify. And then when they come in and testify, their credibility is no good. So, I mean, their gang cases are really, really difficult to prove. So that's why it's, most of the time when we get convictions, we either have a good eyewitness or we have a cop out, because it's hard, man. These guys are just not believable when they go to court in front of a jury, so.
When did Keefe D, who's Orlando's uncle, when did he get on your radar?
Well, again, back in the early 80s when he first started, he was a young kid. We were young kids, and we chased him down. He used to sell dope on Burr Street around South Park, that area. He was a young dope dealer. So I know we chased him down one time, and I know we arrested him for dope. Okay. So that was our first time we got contacted Keefe D.
Well, leading up to 1996, did you know that he was a major drug dealer at that time, or was he kind of off your radar?
No, we knew, because Compton, we didn't have the manpower. We didn't have the resources to go after major drug dealers. Plus, we're the gang unit. We are inundated with hundreds of shootings and hundreds of murders, every year, right? So we didn't have the resources to go after Keefe D, but we were told that he's running narcotics across the United States. Plus the fact that we were contacted by not a DEA task force, an FBI task force who comes to us because they want our intel. Mm-hmm. So they're telling us, man, we know this guy's running drugs across the country. So we give him, hey, these are the players you need to check out. We'd give him a list of players, and we'd kind of exchange information. But we didn't have the resources to go after Keefe D, but we knew he was a main player.
Okay. Did you ever bust him yourself?
When he was a young kid.
Okay, but later on, once he became bigger.
No, he was more of a drug dealer. He really wasn't out there gang banging like the rest of the crew. But he was definitely became a shot caller because of his influence of the money and the drug trade, you know.
Well, around this time, Snoop Dogg and his bodyguard Malik got into it with a guy named Philip Walder Marion. And, you know, as he was approaching them in a threatening manner, Malik ended up pulling out a gun and killing him. So you had a trial.
Right.
Over, you know, with Snoop and Malik.
Right.
And you guys were actually there.
We were there on a different murder case. Yeah, we were two of our officers were murdered. So we were there for that trial, and that case happened just to be going next door. So we saw Reggie Jr. He was in the courtroom. So we were talking to him. We saw him in there. So
right. I guess when Snoop was walking out, Reggie introduced you guys. Say, "Oh, this is Bob and Tim, or Blondie, as they call them, the best gang cops in Compton."
Well, that's what Reggie says. Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever interact with Snoop Dogg?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
You guys.
He was just south of Compton, but I don't remember having any interaction with him. He was a Long Beach gang.
Okay. Well, then in 1996 in Las Vegas, the murder of Tupac Shakur. When you heard the news of the shooting, how long was it after the actual shooting that you find out about it? You know, did you find out about the news, or were you getting phone calls?
No, I got a phone call the same night of the shooting.
Okay.
We were on our days off, and Reggie Sr. calls us, and he goes, "Hey, man, Tupac and Suge just got shot in Vegas, and they're saying it's Southside Crips, so get ready. It's coming back to Compton. So stay by your phone," right? Because it was our days off. So that's the first time we heard about it.
Okay, but what followed it, you described as 10 days of hell in Compton.
Correct.
Okay. What started to happen?
Well, the first shooting took place 2 days after, and one of the main players of Southside, Darnell Brim, he's one of the main players for Southside. He was over at a 99-cent store over on Alondra Boulevard, and he was walking into the store, and the drive-by, he got shot like 4 or 5 times, survived, along with the little 10-year-old girl who also got shot and was in critical condition. So that was the first shooting that took place. And that was 2 days after Suge and Tupac were shot. So sure enough, Reggie calls us. He goes, get your asses in. Let him see you driving around because it's going to start up, you know. So we had to go in on that one.
Right, because in the next 10 days, 3 people got killed, and there were 11 attempted murders.
That's correct, man. It was a major war going on between mob and Southside and Looters Park, you know. So it was, we've had many gang wars before, but, you know, this was high-profile stuff, you know, because, of course, Tupac getting shot, so.
I mean, was this the worst war that you saw in Compton?
No, we had many wars just like that, but nobody ever cares because this gangbangers killing gangbangers, right?
Yeah.
This one, you know, it just got put on the radar because of Tupac and Suge, but this was a good one. I'm not gonna lie. This was a good one, but you know, we've had so many before that we know how to put a stop to them. So, you know, we went into our mode and start gathering information. That's what we did so we can write a search warrant and hit all these houses and try to send a message to these guys. Hey, if you guys want to kill each other, go ahead, but you're not going to do it in Compton right now. So,
okay. So at the time, right when this happened, I mean, in the book, it said that Las Vegas PD was a little worried about sharing information with Compton PD. Once again, there's a confusion between Reggie Wright Sr. and Jr., and they're worried about information being leaked to the wrong people, essentially. And in the book, you guys said that this was sort of a big mistake because if you guys knew this had happened, you could have actually worked with like California Highway Patrol to intercept a car coming back from Las Vegas to LA. So what exactly was happening between you guys and Las Vegas PD right after the Tupac murder?
Well, I mean, understandably so. If I was Las Vegas PD, I would be hesitant to call too, because you're like going, what's going on? You got Reggie Jr. who's the head of security, and his dad is head of the gang unit, right?
Yeah.
So I would kind of be hesitant too. So what happened was Reggie Sr. tried to call Las Vegas like 2 times, and they totally like blew him off. Well, we're not going to give you any information. They kind of like dissed him. So then the chief got involved and called their chief or whatever and said, hey, man, we just want to share information. So what I'm going to do is take Reggie Sr. off the case, and we're going to put, Lad and Blondie going to be your liaisons so you guys can exchange information. But days have gone by now, and all we are saying is that, hey, man, we know the white Cadillac's going to come back to the hood, right? If we would have knew there was a white Cadillac, we would have been looking for it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, in that type of aspect, maybe we could have caught him or even, found the Cadillac, because the Cadillac was never found.
As soon as it happened, you have a whole network of informants.
Correct.
In Compton. Were they telling you who the shooter was?
Yeah, within the next few days, we start getting calls from informants, and our first ones were saying, hey, it's a Keefe. Orlando was a shooter. They're telling us that Bubble Up and Big Dre were in the car. This was days after. This is informants telling us, and it's just not us. Other people had informants too. Reggie Sr., this guy in charge of the narcotics, Bobby Baker. They were also getting calls with the same information. So it wasn't just us getting information about this.
Okay, so they're actually naming all 4 people.
Correct.
In the car correctly.
Yeah.
Like the story doesn't change. It's not like you're switching out people depending on who you talk to.
No.
Everyone from Keefe D to your informants are all saying the same 4 individuals are in that car.
Absolutely.
Was it because they came back and started to brag about it?
Well, we were told that Orlando came back and was starting to brag about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And not Keefe D, not Big Dre, not Bubble Up. It was just Orlando. Everyone was telling, hey, Orlando's coming back. He's bragging about killing him. Rightfully so, probably. But this is within his own gang. You know what I'm saying? So, the word spreads, and then people start calling us. So.
Do you know who Dirt Rock is?
I didn't know this Dirt Rock guy. I mean, it came out later. But I never knew Dirt Rock in the hood.
Okay,
so, I'm not saying that I never came across him or he didn't know who we were.
Yeah.
Because he probably did, but I just don't remember him.
Right. Well, from my understanding, he is a Southside Crip.
He is.
And he was roommates with Big Dre. And later on, he actually testified in the grand jury.
Right.
And he said that Big Dre told him that he was the shooter, but it made more sense for Orlando to take the credit because Orlando was the one who got jumped by Tupac. And it was his credibility and his relationship of getting, jumped by a rapper.
Right.
That it would make more sense for him to hold that murder. And Big Dre didn't really want the heat of killing one of the most popular celebrities in the world. Now, you heard this before.
I've heard it, yeah.
This is coupled with the fact where, I talked to someone who was in the car behind Tupac when the murder occurred, and he told me flat out that he saw the hand sticking out the window, and it was not a skinny arm.
Right.
It was a big, beefy arm that was holding the gun.
Right.
So people started thinking, okay, maybe it wasn't Orlando, maybe it was Big Dre, who was a big, fat guy, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear that, what do you think?
Well, I don't want to call Dirt Rock a lie or anything like that, but it's just, to me, it just doesn't make sense. Okay? Because I in all my years of investigating hundreds of shootings and hundreds of murders, I never came across someone who took credit for somebody else's murder. You know what I'm saying? So that's, it just based on what I know about gang members, and especially the mentality of Orlando Anderson, he got beat down. So it makes the most sense that he's going to go retaliate. Now, as far as the big arm coming out of the car, now I've been driving around the streets of Compton for many years, and I've seen AK-47s come out. We've been driving behind people. All of a sudden, they come out, and we witness drive-by shooting. And I look back at all of them, and I see a black arm come out, but I'm looking at that gun. You know what I mean? It's a big black gun or whatever. So that's my reasoning, behind
it
that.
happened so quick.
It happened so quick. You probably going, you see this gun coming out, whether it was a skinny or a fat arm,
Yeah.
I can't. I'm not, like I say, I wasn't there. So,
well, I mean, when I brought this up to Greg Kading in our last interview, he said that except for Keefe, everyone was kind of trying to take credit for Tupac's murder. Everyone was sort of bragging about it in their own way. Terrence Brown also claimed he was the shooter?
Yeah.
Oh.
Everybody in the car was taking credit for it.
But not Keefe.
Not Keefe.
Yeah.
But all the other guys.
He's the older one in that crew, so
right.
he knows a little better.
Right. He's trying to tell everyone to shut up because, it's getting around that everybody's bragging about it.
So Orlando,
DeAndre,
Andre, and Terrence are all saying they're the shooters.
Right.
All three of them simultaneously. Like they all held the gun together and just, okay, got
They
it.
all want to take credit for it.
well,
Because they're associated with such a high profile event, one that we're still talking about 25 years later.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So this happened in 96, right?
Mm-hmm.
Greg Kading didn't start
Well, no,
investigating to 2006. So
Yeah.
what happened in 96 is us. We were the ones that were there. And I'm telling you that the only informants that were telling us that were bragging about it was Orlando Anderson.
Okay, so no one else was taking credit.
No one else was taking credit.
So from your point of view, it was
Right.
clearly Orlando, nobody else.
That's what I believe.
That's what you believe.
Right.
So 6 months after the murder of Tupac Shakur, Biggie ends up getting killed in L.A.
Correct.
When you found out about that murder, what was the first thing you thought?
Well, I figured it was related to Tupac. I figured, like everybody else, man, this was like a revenge shooting. That's the first thing that entered my mind.
Right.
Oh.
You take our biggest star, we're going to take your biggest star.
Exactly.
Okay, but did any of your informants in Compton tell you, hey, I know who did it?
No, we never got contact by any of our informants stating that they know who actually pulled the trigger on that one.
Okay. Because later on, based on what Keefe D said, he was saying how the Tupac murder, was loosely orchestrated by Diddy, that there was $1 million, that was supposed to be paid, for the killing of Tupac and Suge. And, he even claimed that after Tupac got shot, Puffy called him and said, was that us? Did you, this is just hearsay
Right.
from Keefe, right? Did you hear any sort of connection between Puffy and Southside Crips and anything in regards to this type of situation? There was also the rumor that Puffy had put a reward for death row chains and everything else like that. So did you hear any of this stuff yourself?
We heard about the death row chain. We heard that someone put out a bounty on it. We didn't know how much, but we heard there was a bounty on the chain. Mm-hmm. And we also heard there was a connection between Southside and Bad Boy Records, because when they came down here, they used Southside Crips as kind of, not their actual security, but kind of like bodyguard.
Yeah.
Kind of like what, Death Row does with the Mob Piru. So whenever they came out here, they would get Southside to go along with them. But we never actually seen them together.
Okay. Well, in 1998, Orlando Anderson gets killed in a triple murder, which has nothing to do with the Tupac situation.
Correct.
Describe what happens.
Well, Orlando Anderson, he's with, he's at a place called Mom's Burgers across the street. It's at Alondra Boulevard in Oleandra, right? It's over there by Compton High School. And there's Rob's Car Wash over there, and then there's Mom Burgers, right? So Orlando Anderson sees these guys across the street from Corner Pocket Crip, the Stone Brothers and another guy. Big guys over there in Corner Pocket. And they owed him some dope money. So I guess he goes and he gets Michael DeRoe, and they come back and they drive across the street and they confront these guys. And they get out, or Orlando gets out with a gun, and Michael Stone gets out with a gun, and a shootout occurred. Orlando got hit during the shootout. Michael DeRoe picks up Orlando's gun. He returns fire, and after all the smoke clears, there's Orlando's dead. The Stone brothers are dead, so we had a triple homicide as a result of this.
And Michael DeRoe survived.
Michael DeRoe survived, yes.
But he was actually charged with a triple murder.
Yes. And like I say, we went to court on that because it was our case again, right? And then when he got convicted, he was like pissed off. His mom was yelling at Blondie, screaming at him. And Michael DeRoe was pissed off because he didn't understand how he can get charged with killing his best friend, you know what I mean? Because they grew up together. So he didn't care about Stone brothers, but he cared about him getting charged for his best friend's murder.
Well, from what I understand, because did you guys show up when Orlando was shot?
Yes.
Who was the one that tried to get a death confession?
That was
Orlando?
Ray Richardson.
Okay.
Him and a guy named Eddie Aguirre, they were assigned to our gang unit like in 91 or 92. I can't remember exactly when. But anyway, they're part of the gang unit. They're the ones that went up to him, and Ray tried to get a dying declaration statement out of him, and he told him to fuck off, basically.
Well, he tried to get him to confess to Tupac's murder.
Right.
On his deathbed.
Right.
And he said, fuck you.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting because I remember I interviewed Chris Carroll, who's a first responder in Las Vegas, and he tried to get a death confession from Tupac. And when Tupac realized that he was talking to a cop because he was all shot up and going in and out of consciousness, he said, fuck you to the cop as well.
And I looked at him once again. I said, what happened? Who did this? Who shot you? And now he's looking at me, so we're looking at each other in the eyes. And this is kind of the first time he's even acknowledging my presence. And he looked at me, and I could tell he was getting a breath together to tell me. And he looked me right in the eyes, and we looked at each other, and he said, fuck you. And he said it just like that, with the emphasis on that F to really let me know. That's how we felt,
So you got these two guys whose story is interconnected, who essentially said the same thing to the same type of person in their dying breath.
I know. That's their mentality. So
crazy.
I know.
Are you surprised at all?
No, not at all. Because trust me, you know how many gunshot victims that I've responded to that told me to fuck off? We'll handle it ourselves. Almost 90% of them.
Okay, so only 10% actually say who shot him.
Probably, yeah, somewhere around them.
Do any of them actually die afterwards? I mean, have you had an actual death confession that was used in court to convince the shooter?
I never have. No, okay. But I've heard that it's happened before.
Got it.
Right.
And then in 2000, Compton PD, that had been around since 1888, ends up getting shut down completely and absorbed into the Compton Sheriff's Department, or no, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
Correct.
So this whole police force kind of ceased to exist.
Yep. Been around 112 years, man, just gone.
Right.
Oh.
How crazy was that?
It was a shock to everyone's system. And we had nothing, trust me, we had nothing against the sheriff's department at all, but we just wanted to keep our police department, you know what I'm saying? Because it's been around for, like I said, 112 years. So since I was there in 1983, I heard every time a negotiation come up for a contract, they were going, oh, we're going to bring in the sheriff. We're going to bring in the sheriff. So we've been hearing that for almost 20 years, right? So I'm going, kiss my butt. They're never going to do it. But this mayor, man, he was pissed off at us. So he actually did it. And he didn't ask the citizens. That's what our problem was. If the citizens said, okay, we're tired of Compton PD, bring in the sheriff, it would have set well with me. Okay, they don't want us anymore. But he didn't even ask the citizens. He's just pissed off at us. And so he just got rid of us.
But didn't he claim the Compton PD was spying on him and a whole bunch of craziness?
A whole bunch of craziness went on. That's a whole story in itself.
Right.
went on, man. But he was corrupt, and he wanted to bring his corruptness into our police department, and he got rid of our chief and our captains who've been around for 30 years. They were good guys, man. And he got rid of them all one day, and he wanted to bring in his cronies. So our association, in a nutshell, said, no, we're not going to. We tried to fight City Hall. You know, the old adage, you can't fight City Hall. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what happened, man. We ended up losing our police department over it.
Okay, and you became a sheriff at that point?
Yes.
Okay, was that a big change?
Yeah, man, because, I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, but we're experts. We traveled around the country testifying on Crips and Bloods, and we're teaching about Crips and Bloods, and we really love what we did, man. We were in the mix, doing what we love to do. And then the next thing I know, I'm a bailiff. Nothing against bailiff, but I just really wasn't ready for it. It was like a shock to my system. And then they stuck Tim. They kept Tim in the gang unit for 3 months, and then they stuck him on graveyard traffic unit in Lakewood. So we were like, oh my God, this is not good. Right? So it really was a shock to our system.
Well, by 2006, there was a Biggie task force, essentially, that was run by LAPD. And both you and Blondie joined that task force?
No, just Tim. I lateraled to a different agency.
Okay.
So I went to Garden Grove PD in Orange County. That's where I was a reserve, knew a lot of people. So they said, hey, come on back. They treated me good there and put me in charge of the gang unit and everything else.
So you left Compton?
I left
completely.
Yes.
But Blondie actually stayed.
He stayed, and he got assigned to the task force.
Okay. Now, while he's working on this task force, he ends up going to Pelican Bay and interviewing Michael Duro.
That's correct.
Now, you actually provided some paperwork here of this interview.
I did.
What did Michael Duro say? Michael Duro right now, at that time, was holding a triple murder. So he was doing...
Right. So here
life, or was it multiple life sentences? Pelican Bay, which is a supermax. So he's in the worst possible situation, essentially.
He wants to get out of Pelican Bay.
Yeah.
Of course. So we knew Michael Duro's mom because she used to work for us. Carrie Duro. Sweet lady. So we contact her. She sets up this interview. Mm-hmm. And Greg Kading and a female FBI agent and Tim, they go out to Pelican Bay to interview Michael Duro, see what he has to say. So here you have a guy, Michael Duro, that tried to kill us. We tried to put him away on a murder he got off on, and then we put him away for triple murder, and we show up to interview him at Pelican Bay, right? So Greg Kading and this female detective go in with Tim, right? So they sit down, and Michael Duro's right off the way, he disses Kading and this female. He goes, I ain't talking to these fuckers. I'm only talking to Blondie. Basically what he said.
Okay. So
Kading and the FBI agents had to go sit out in the little waiting room there with their tails between their legs for like about an hour, right? Mm-hmm. So they weren't real happy about that. Meanwhile, Timmy interviews Michael Duro, and he tells him, I gave you a 3-page report.
Yeah.
And I read the report, and the stuff that he tells him is the truth, because I was there for most of it, because it happened when I was there at Compton, mm-hmm. right? So to say that Kading said statement on a different show or whatever, that he just lied to Blondie's face, which wasn't true, because after this report, they went back a second time 3 months later. This one happened in July. They went back to another prison to re-interview him because Tim's tape didn't work too good. So we went back with a guy, not Kading, but Brian Tyndall, and they re-interviewed him, and I gave a report for that. Well, they're in these statements, which I don't want to talk about because it's an open murder, but he implicates people from Death Row Records being involved in Biggie's murder, along with Southside Crips. Now, if you want to put it up, post it, that's on you, but I'm not going to say, because I don't talk about really open murders, but he really has a lot to say about Southside Crips being involved in Biggie's murder, along with Death Row together.
Well, right.
So what I'm saying is that you have a triple murder suspect, Michael DeRoe. He's not going to be someone that you're going to bring to court to testify. You know what I'm saying? He's not, his credibility is not going to be there. But you want this guy in your back pocket, okay? Because I've interviewed hundreds of informants. That's all I did my whole career, is talk to informants. And these guys are savory characters. They're gangsters. They're dope dealers. They're not going to tell you how. 3/4 of what they tell you is not going to be the truth, but it's that one part that they tell you the truth. It's my job to go out and investigate him and see if he's telling the truth or not. You know what I'm saying? So just to kiss him off and say, hey, he lied to us, so we're not going to use him. We're not going to help him because he lied to us one time. It's just not good police work. And that's what they did here. That's what Kading did. Here's a guy, they could have helped him out, got him out of Pelican Bay, put him in a different prison and kept him on the side, man. You can always go back to this guy and see if he's telling the truth, get information from him. It's your job as an investigator to take what he gives you and investigate it to see if it's true or not. So just to say that he lied and that's it, I don't agree with what he did.
Well, in this paperwork, Michael DeRoe actually implicates Reggie Wright Jr.
Well,
not to say it's true or not, but Reggie Wright Jr.'s name is actually in this paperwork.
I'm not going to say anything about, if you want to post it, that's on you, but
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything about that. I gave you the paperwork, so what you do with it is on you, but I don't talk about the open murders, and I don't want to implicate anybody without, just cause.
From your point of view, based on everything you know, all the people you talk to and so forth, who do you think killed Biggie?
Well, it's up in the air to me.
In terms of the shooter. Now, there's all types of, Greg Kading, he feels that Suge was behind it and his girlfriend or baby mother was the liaison and, she cooperated and so forth. I believe he said Poochie was the...
He said Poochie was the
trigger man who's now dead also. Who do you think, from your point of view, pulled the trigger that killed Biggie?
Well, honest to God, it could be any of them guys. And here's why. Hear me out. Because what Kading did with Teresa Swan or whatever, gave her immunity and put a false statement in front of him implicating Poochie. I would have said, if I was Teresa Swan, I would have put it on the dead guy too.
Oh, he was dead at the time?
Yeah, he was already dead. You
okay.
understand what I'm saying?
That changes things a little bit.
But if you take the entourage of Mob Piru, you take Mob James, Buntree, Timmy Rue, Neckbone, all these guys are capable of doing that. You know what I'm saying? Let's take Southside's crew, Orlando, Big Dre, all them guys are capable of doing what needed to be done. They've killed before. I mean, you interviewed Mob James a lot of time, and
Many
to
times.
me, I love listening to that guy. He's like, the truth comes out of that guy's mouth. You could just see he's straight. He's the real deal, He's real gangster.
Yeah.
He don't lie. When you talk to him, you could tell he doesn't lie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
And I wouldn't want to piss him off back in the day. You understand? You could tell that. I could tell listening to him.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not saying he did it or anything like that. Trust me. But I'm just saying any one of them guys are capable of doing this, not just put it on the dead guy and then, we're done with the Biggie case. There's a lot more to Biggie's case than meets the eye. But that's on LAPD, man. You know what I mean?
All right, because when you talk to law enforcement about situations like this, stories start to evolve over time. But most times you want to focus on who said what right when it happened.
Correct.
And when you look at right when it happened, and we interviewed Lil C's, who was sitting in the car with Biggie when the shooting happened, when he went to the hospital, he said a Muslim killed Big. And he said that he saw a guy with a bow tie, you know what I'm saying, who was dressed like a NOI guy, not to say that he had anything to do with the NOI. But
Right.
that was the statement, a Muslim killed Big.
Right.
And when we interviewed him, he said, yeah, I said that.
I said that because that's the glance of what I saw. I saw a bow tie. And it was a lot of Muslims and them type of people there doing security, as far as regular police too. That was the only glance I caught. I could just tell that person was suited from what I saw. You know, I mean, I didn't see much of it. You know, nobody don't look at nobody shooting somebody. The car came up. It's no time to look and, hey, who that? Nah, but just from a glance, I saw a bow tie. And that's what I explained.
Gene Deal, who talked to Lil C's in the hospital, said, yeah, that's what Lil C's told me. And Lil C's didn't deny that. You know, I know Gene Deal, his stories sometimes don't add up completely, but, you know, I interviewed him primarily for he was there when Biggie got killed, so I'm interested in that night. They're telling me a guy with a bow tie killed Biggie, and there was a theory this guy, Amir Muhammad, was the shooter, but from everything I've read and talked to, all the people I talked to, this guy is like a real estate agent who has nothing to do with it, and his life has been put upside down over the situation.
That's what I've heard the same thing.
Yeah. So you got, now was it a Ahmaud Pyru guy that was dressed in a bow tie to throw people off? Maybe. You know, and then they're trying to, you know, because I guess Amir Muhammad did visit, who was it? The corrupt cop in prison.
Mac or Perez or?
Yeah, I think, Mac.
Yeah, Mac.
Yeah. And, you know, they're trying to create that whole connection.
Right.
But, you know, I can tell you in 2024, like, I know who killed Pac.
Right.
You know, and I definitely know who was in the car.
Right.
The trigger man, I'm pretty sure, you know, that's a little bit of a gray area, but I know the situation.
It really doesn't matter who the shooter was.
They're all in the car, and, you know, and they're all implicated in their own way. But in the murder of Biggie,
there's two.
I'm not quite sure.
I'm not either. Like that's why I say it could be any one of these. But just to say it, put it off on the dead guy, Poochie, that doesn't cut it with me. If it was my murder, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, when I brought it to Mob James and I brought it Poochie, he goes, he thinks that that's a viable person because of his reputation.
Yeah, for sure. So
But when you heard the Poochie situation, I mean, number one, was Poochie known as a shooter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a hitter for real.
Okay. Yeah. So doing something like this would not be out of character?
Not at all.
Okay. And Poochie was, from what I understand, a murderer.
Yeah, he was.
You know, while he was alive.
Mm-hmm.
Was he convicted of any sort of shootings, or did you ever come across Poochie?
Yeah.
So you know who he was?
I knew who he was for sure.
Okay. Was he the person, the type of person to do something like that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Not to say he did it, but.
Right. No. But then I could say that about Buntry. I could say that about Timmy Rue. I could say that about Neckbone. I could say that about Georgie Williams. I could say that about Orlando. You know what I'm saying?
Bunch of guys. Capable of doing something like that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So in 2009, the Biggie Smalls Task Force essentially ended. Greg Kading was actually removed from the task force. What was the situation around that?
Well, from what I know, and, you know, I had, like, Bomb first, I had him ask him some tough questions, like, why did he retire? Why didn't he testify? And what about, why didn't he notify Las Vegas? So what I heard that he was involved in a RICO case with the same DA, U.S. attorney or whatever, and the judge, now hear this out, and the judge took time out to write a 147-page report implicating Greg Kading as threatening, lying, and coercing witnesses.
This is the George Torres.
That's the George Torres
situation.
case. You guys can look it up.
And that has nothing to do with the Biggie or Tupac case.
But it does. But because of what happened.
Okay.
You understand? So the judge takes the time to write this 147-page document. Your ass is in a ringer. If I'm Greg Kading, you're gonna get taken off the case and you're gonna be put on cold cases. You're out of the way while Internal Affairs does their investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he held up a report saying, oh, the Internal Affairs, see, look, they didn't say I was lying. They didn't, they exonerated me, right? Well, let me tell you something. It's true. That's true. But there's two different things here. You got the courts and you got LAPD. The courts don't give a rat's ass about what LAPD finds out if Greg Kading is innocent or not in their eyes. It's always going to be over his head. So every time he gets called to testify, they're going to bring this up. So essentially, he can't testify. He can't be a cop anymore, really, because they're always going to bring this up, thus having an impact on the task force. Nothing was ever filed on the task force. Nobody was, put in jail. They all got let free or whatever, right? So he goes to LAPD. So here's how it usually goes. He says, oh, I got burned out and had to retire. Okay, I'll give him that. But how it usually goes is that, hey, you can't testify. You can't be a cop anymore. So LAPD's big enough. We could hide you, Greg, but we could put you in charge of crossing guards and parking meter people, but you can't be a cop anymore. So what are you going to do? You can retire with full benefits or whatever, or you can stay here and we have to hide you. So for whatever reasons, he retires and he steals basically all the information on an open murder case in one of the biggest cases in history, really, as far as celebrity murders goes, right? Wouldn't you say Biggie and Tupac are some of the biggest celebrity murders? So he takes all this information and he takes all this tape, and good for him. He wrote a book, made money on it, whatever. But the problem we have in law enforcement is that he exposes this on an open murder case and he burns Keefe D.
Before he leaves LAPD, and I've interviewed him about this multiple times.
Right.
He was investigating Keefe D, finds that he was running a PCP operation.
Right.
Comes to Keefe D's house and says, essentially, look, we know about your operation and we want to offer you some sort of deal. Come down and meet with us. And during that whole situation, his partner secretly recorded Keefe D and offered him a proffer agreement. Now, a proffer agreement, for those that don't know, means that tell us everything you know in this case about the Tupac murder, and whatever you say can't be used against you to prosecute you, as long as you're telling the truth, as long as we don't catch you in a bunch of lies. Now, if you choose to retell it later on, or if someone else is able to testify, whatever, then yeah, you can be prosecuted. But everything you say during these recorded statements cannot be used against you. That's the proffer. That's the queen for a day. You have a problem with him giving Keefe D a proffer.
From what? Big time. Because every time he does an interview, I learn a little bit more, because I was always under the impression when he gave him the proffer, this thing about Tupac's murder just came up. So, we couldn't tell Las Vegas about it. Well, your last interview with him, he interviewed him 3 separate times, weeks apart, right? So
he did multiple interviews with Keefe.
Right.
Hours of footage.
Weeks apart, if not months. Mm-hmm. These 3 interviews took place, okay? Yeah. So where I'm going with this is that I caught a lot of slack for, you don't even know what a proffer agreement is. You keep calling it an immunity agreement or whatever. It's like, okay, I said, hey, man, I'm not a lawyer. But riddle me this. If a guy cops out to one of the biggest murders around and doesn't get prosecuted for it. I mean, what is that? If he would have went to Florida and said, adios, I'm moving to Florida, and never said a word, we wouldn't even be having this discussion.
Correct.
Right? So you tell me. I mean, I know it's Queen for a day, all that kind of stuff, but he copped out to a murder.
Yeah.
And nothing happened to him.
Right. When he also got off his drug case, also, which he was facing life for, essentially, or 25 years or something of that sort. I mean, in all the cases that you worked on, were you ever involved in proffers yourself?
We never used proffer. That's more, only a U.S. attorney could do that.
Ah, okay. So a regular Compton cop can't pull out a proffer.
No, it has to be done by the U.S. attorney.
It has to be a sign off and everything.
Right.
Okay.
So my whole problem with it, though, is him not notifying Las Vegas. This is like incomprehensible to me. I know that they worked on this murder for months because my partner Brennan found a weapon, okay, the .40 caliber Glock that was supposedly the murder weapon. And I gave you paperwork with that. And on that very end, they wrote a little paperwork. On the very end, it says, do not notify Las Vegas.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So Blondie, how did he find this weapon?
He was assigned to go look at back around the murder of Tupac, any .40 caliber Glocks that were recovered at Compton PD, because we had like 3,000 guns recovered during that time, right?
This was around 2006, during the Biggie Task Force.
That's correct.
Era. Got it.
Okay. So Tim notices a report that was at Corey Edwards, was there when Tupac got killed. He was a Southside Crip gang member. It was his girlfriend's house. Tim recognized the address.
Okay, wait. So Corey Edwards was in Las Vegas when Tupac got killed. But he wasn't in the car, though.
Right.
Okay.
He was there, though.
He was there.
And Tim notices the address. And what happened was there was a .40 caliber Glock buried in the backyard, and his dog dug it up and was running around the backyard with it in his mouth. And the dad called up, and they went out and recovered the gun. But the cops that went out there just say, hey, it's a found gun. They just booked it. But Tim noticed that, so they go have it checked against the casings found at the Tupac murder, and they said it matched.
Wait. So this gun that was found in Corey's backyard?
Yes.
They actually matched the casings to the casings found when Tupac got killed. So does that mean, how likely is it that this is the same gun when it comes to these types of testing?
It's very likely, and the mistakes aren't made that often. In this case, apparently there was a mistake made, but the initial ruling when the guy tested it against the casing, because it's entered in a NIBIN computer. It's where anytime a gun is used, they take casings or whatever, they put it in this computer in case, a gun was used somewhere else, they can link it up against each other. And that's what they did. And he said it was a positive match.
Okay.
But the point I'm trying to make
but you said a mistake was made. So was it not a positive match?
Well, it was a positive match. So Kading takes the gun out to Vegas later on, and they retest it, and they say it wasn't the gun.
Okay.
So apparently Kading, based on his statement, says he brought the gun back, and they rebooked it into evidence, and it was destroyed. It got destroyed, so we'll never know now. But the point I was trying to make was that they wrote up a little, memo saying that, hey, we found the gun, because they were all excited when it tested positive, right? So at the end of the memo, it says, do not notify Las Vegas PD.
Right. It says in this report, due to the sensitive nature of the weapon recovery and the potential to alert criminal conspirators by outside agency involvement, Assistant United States Attorney Tim Seawright, who has been assigned as a federal case prosecutor, has confirmed with superiors who agree with the task force detectives the information regarding the recovery of the firearm should not be shared with the Las Vegas Police Department.
Amen. So based on what happened with the proffer agreement, they worked on this murder from a different agency. It's not even their murder, okay? And he says, oh, Katie said, there's such things as professional courtesy. Professional courtesy I've done hundreds of times. When I'm sitting and interviewing you, you're a murder suspect and you cop out to my murder, but you cop out to the murder in Inglewood or just say Inglewood. So I get off the phone, I get off interviewing you, I'm going to take your statement. You tell me about the murder in Inglewood. But as soon as I get out of the room, hey, Inglewood, this guy's copping out to your murder. You want to come down and interview, or I'll just write up what I got. It's up to you. It's your murder. That's professional courtesy. Mm-hmm. These guys have the audacity to work on someone else's murder without telling them for months. Think about this, though. I mean, general public don't care, but in the law enforcement world, it's outrageous, unbelievable. I don't even know if it's ever been done before, especially a high profile. I get pissed because it's a high profile murder. It's the biggest high profile murders in the last 30 years. And he doesn't even tell. He could have had plenty of time to get Vegas involved. Say, hey, if you don't want to get involved, I wouldn't be talking shit right now. But you have to get Las Vegas involved. Send somebody down. And to offer somebody a proffer agreement, it's unbelievable to me how this happened. And I'm telling you, he fucked up the case more than he helped it.
Well, I remember I asked him in our first interview, Greg Kading, that is, why do you think Las Vegas PD did solve this case very quickly? And what he felt, and this is just his opinion, was at the time, Las Vegas was trying to rebrand itself as a family-friendly city. You know, these days they've leaned all into the adult thing. Whatever, right. When you go to Vegas, it stays in Vegas. Right. But back then they're pushing circus and bring your whole family. And the last thing they wanted was a whole bunch of rappers from LA shooting on the main strip, and this whole investigation to be front page news every day. We're talking about billions of dollars lost. And he felt from high up, the police department were told just to leave it alone and leave it as an unsolved case. And that's why they didn't go hard with that investigation. Do you agree or disagree?
Totally agree. We said that. I think we said that on our first interview with you 10 years ago. I believe so. Yeah, that's totally true. I totally agree with that.
You think Las Vegas just did not want this thing to keep going?
Yeah, they didn't know how big Tupac was or was going to be. And they just wanted it to go away. There's no doubt in my mind.
Right.
Because I'm the one, I contacted the investigators that came out when we did our search warrant. Mm-hmm. So I know that for sure that was it.
Well, I remember I interviewed TK Kirkland, who was very close friends with Eric Von Zip. According to Keefe D, Eric Von Zip was sort of the go-between between Puffy and the Southside Crips. He even claims that Eric was the one who provided the gun the night that Tupac got killed. Mm-hmm. TK Kirkland, who lived with Eric, number one, said that he saw Eric and Keefe D hanging out together. He also saw Eric Von Zip and Puffy hang out together. I believe Von Zip and Puffy's father knew each other. He didn't see the three of them hang out, but he confirmed that Eric knew everyone involved. And he said around the time, you know, because the rumor was that Puffy sent $1 million for the murder of Tupac, but the story is that Eric Von Zip kept the money. And around that time, Eric opened up a nightclub. Which, you know, if you kind of do the math, it's kind of along the lines of that amount of money.
Right.
Saying that, you know, and, you know, Keefe D has tried to put this on Puffy and everything else like that. Do you feel that Puffy will be dragged into this Tupac case, or there's no chance?
No, you're talking about murder for hire, and it's been 27 years, and there's so much you have to prove to get some. And then you don't go after someone like Puffy unless you have a slam dunk case. He's going to hire the best lawyers. He's going to hire everything. So you better have your ducks in a row before you go after him. And you're surely not going to go on it based on what Keefe D has to say. You know what I'm saying? So it's not, to me, it's not going to happen.
Did you ever interact with Suge Knight?
No. I mean, I knew him, seen him. You know, he used to come into Compton every so often. But I didn't have much because he didn't gangbang, you know, so he wasn't out there. So I didn't have much interaction with Suge Knight.
Okay, so in 2014, you and Blondie both retired from law enforcement.
Yes.
Was there like a final straw, or?
No, man, 32 years is enough. You know what I'm saying? So,
you guys retired the same year?
Yes, we did.
Okay, even though you guys weren't working in the same department
No,
anymore.
we were best friends, man. It's like, that's what I try to say. Even though I wasn't on the task force or whatever, we still talked every day. He told me everything that went on in that task force, but of course I'm not going to say anything. But I am now because he's dead. And when you start disrespecting Brennan, that's when I have to speak up for him. So, you know, I thought that Kading disrespected Tim when he kicked him off the task force and said he couldn't trust him. So I think it's vice versa, really, but, you know.
Well, when you saw that Greg Kading put out a book and he started releasing the Keefe D audio, what did you think?
I mean, I didn't care. The stuff that bothered me as far as law enforcement is that he took all this information on an open murder case and just put it out to the public. I mean, it's been done before, but most of them are closed cases on big cases. Detectives retire and they write a book about it. He stole everything. He stole the audio. I say steal because it wasn't his. It's evidence in an open murder case, a high profile murder case. So then he writes his book. Great. He got his movie deal, whatever. Everyone says, oh, you're jealous or whatever. It has nothing to do with being jealous. What I did 27 years ago with Timmy stands on its own. I have a 32-year career, and it's what I've done stands on its own. You know what I'm saying? But for him to go out and release this audio and then go tell Keefe D, because regardless of what you think of Keefe D, you can say, oh yeah, well, he killed Tupac, screw him. Well, he's still a human being. He's still got a wife and he's still got a kid. You understand what I'm saying? So you're going to put him a death sentence on, really, and he lucked out. How he's not dead, I don't know how he lasted all these years, to me. But for him to go out and release this information, you put a death sentence on him, man. And he got lucky so far as I'm concerned. You just don't do that, what I'm trying to say.
Me, you, and Blondie did our interview in 2017. 2 years later, Keefe D writes a book.
Right.
And I do an interview about this book.
Okay.
Did you read the book or watch my interview?
Both, yeah. But I've read Keefe's book and I've listened to a lot of your interviews with Keefe. Yes.
Okay. And my interview, although he did something with BET before that, my interview essentially laid out the whole entire story, from how he grew up, how he knew Suge, his association with Southside Crips, what led up, you know, the chain incident, you know, at the mall, to what happened at the MGM, to what happened directly afterwards, the shooting and the aftermath of the shooting. It laid it all out, and it was all based on the book that he wrote himself. His co-writer was sitting right there next to us. Everyone knew what was going on.
Right.
When you read the book and watched my interview, what did you think?
I was kind of shocked that he would admit to this in his book. That's the first thing that popped out to me, that this guy's self-incriminating himself. It's like, what is he doing? Just keep your mouth shut. That's the first thing that popped into my mind. I don't know if you're looking for something else, but that's the first thing that popped into my mind.
Right, because technically, if he didn't say anything, nothing would happen to him.
No, because the whole Vegas case is based on self-incrimination. Yeah, they'll use me to set up how it was like in Compton and what these guys were like and what they're capable of doing. Yeah, but the whole case is premised on his self-incrimination, whether the jury's going to believe that or not, right? That's all. They don't have no physical evidence.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's basically based on what he was saying.
Right.
From you dealing with Keefe, why do you think he did that? Because, like I said, if he said what he said, he could have moved to Florida or anywhere else, or really just stayed in Vegas or LA, not said anything. No one really knew what he looked like, right?
Right.
At the time, before he started doing interviews on VladTV. Why do you think he decided to write a book and start doing not just interviews with me, but with a lot of different platforms?
Well, most of the time when people ask me this, I just kind of like, oh, well, I don't know. He's stupid, but I really believe I listened to what you said and I totally agree. I think it's his ego. He got snitch label on him.
Yeah.
You came out with the best answer I've heard so far, and I totally agree. After I heard your statement about, hey, this guy got a snitch label on him, he's got a big ego, and so he needed to get his word out. I think you could probably elaborate a little more on your thoughts on it, but I remember you saying that on one of your interviews with somebody, and I was going, yeah, you're pretty spot on with that.
Yeah.
So I totally agree.
Well, then in 2021, your partner Blondie passes away. I guess he was a lifetime smoker.
Yeah, he was. He smoked too much. He liked the non-filtered Camels, and he got cancer, lung cancer, and then it went to his brain. And he fought it for 2 years, but the brain cancer wouldn't go away, the tumors, and it finally got him. So rest in peace, man. He was a good man.
He's your best friend.
My best friend, and
yeah, it's almost weird to just talk to you by yourself right now.
I know.
Because last time
I've been doing it
guys.
lately too, and I always want to look. Come on, help me out, because really, he's the talker of the group.
Right? Yeah, he was the talker last time.
He was the talker of the group.
Yeah.
I'm not. Greg Kading's a good talker. He's an excellent speaker. I wish I could do that. I'm not like that, so I had to rely on Timmy. Yeah. You talk, but this stuff needed to get out, so that's why I'm doing it. It's nothing personal, but I just hate when people get put on, the public puts somebody on this pedestal, and to me, the truth needs to come out.
Well, 2023, July 17th, Keefe D's wife's house gets raided in Henderson, Nevada, which is right next door to Las Vegas, Nevada.
Right.
The house gets searched. They don't really find anything. They find some guns or something, and they have nothing to do with anything. But then on September 29th, Keefe D gets arrested in Las Vegas. When you heard about the arrest, what'd you think?
I go, man, it's really about time. Because he's been talking about this for years, and he's flaunting it right in their face. He's living in Henderson. He's living in Vegas. He's just flaunting it right in Vegas's and the DA's face. So if it wasn't for people like you, and I say Mike Dorsey, because that guy was relentless. I don't know if he's a producer, and he did a lot of stuff helping, keep the pressure on Las Vegas, that they probably wouldn't have done anything, because years went by. He was making these statements for years, right?
Yeah, I mean, Reggie Wright, I guess, talked to the head detective, and the detective said that the VladTV interview, with how big it got, was putting it on Las Vegas PD's radar and so forth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Well, he was arrested, but leading up to the arrest was a grand jury.
Yes.
In order to actually get the arrest warrant. You yourself were part of the grand jury?
I was, yeah.
So what did they ask you about?
Well, it's public knowledge now, so I can talk about it, but I went over about all the Compton gangs, what it was like in Compton in the 80s and 90s, how I grew up, with these guys. I'm talking about Orlando and Keefe and Big Dre. I had to speak on every one of them. And I spoke on the mob Pyrus. Mm-hmm. So I told them about the Crips and the Bloods, and I had to explain all about, one wear red, one wear blue. I had to go from the very beginning, explain all that, and just what it was like being, their mentality about being in gang life in general. And then I provided the motive that was the chain for the Lakewood Mall, the snatch on that, and then about being shot caller and what revenge is all about. So I mean, I had to testify on a lot of stuff that the jury needs to understand about what these guys are like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that led to an arrest warrant. Keefe D got arrested. He was charged with murder. He pled not guilty. I guess they took the death penalty off the table.
Yes.
Early on. Originally, he couldn't afford a lawyer.
Right.
And he got a public defender. Recently, he actually got a real lawyer. And they gave him a bail of $750,000.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, he can't come up with that type of money. So he's still sitting in jail right now.
That's what I heard, yeah.
I mean, in a situation like that, can a bail bondsman just put up the money and you give him 10%, or do you have to secure that with like property and assets and so forth?
I mean, there's bail bondsmen that will do that out there, but they're far and few between. Most of the time, you have to put up a house, some sort of asset, to cover, their loss if you leave. But in his case, he's going to have an ankle monitor. I can't see him leaving anywhere, so someone might do it.
Okay. There was a rumor that he was attacked in jail. I'm not sure if it's true or not.
I'm not sure. I heard that same rumor too.
Right. And then there was a situation where he was talking to his son and he mentioned something called a green light, which is basically a hit.
Right.
Just if you green light somebody, that means that you're allowing them to get killed.
Correct.
In your own way. And they try to use that against him, but from what I understand, they were just talking about something else. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. I don't know. I listened to the whole bail hearing. I don't know if you did or not. I listened to both sides or whatever, right? And that did come up. The prosecution's saying that, he's threatening my witness. We had to move him out. And then the other side saying, wait a second, if you really listen to this, he's not saying this. He's saying something totally different.
Right. That's the impression I got.
Right. And so it took about 30 minutes to hear both sides. But again, the prosecution, I don't know if you listened to that, the prosecution didn't even bring up, I hate to go back to Greg Kading, but he didn't even tell the grand jury about the proffer agreement. Why is that? And then the defense used it to help him get out of jail. So you see what I'm saying here? He's got a dark cloud over everything he did, and then he's going to hurt the case more and he's going to help it.
Well, Las Vegas PD tried to reach out to me to try to get my raw footage.
Right.
They called me like a dozen times, left voicemails, emails. And my whole thing was that I'm not cooperating with police. If you sit down with me, I'm not going to then turn around and cooperate with law enforcement to get you busted. Whatever we put out, you're aware there's getting put out, right? There's cameras in front of you. You sign a release form, you're wearing a microphone.
Right.
But I'm not going to then try to use, and if whatever's public is public, everyone's aware of that. But I'm not going to turn around and use unused footage to try to worsen your situation, regardless of whether I agree with you or not. That's not what we do when you're a guest of VladTV. So I've put it out there multiple times that I'm not cooperating. I don't see a way they could force me to cooperate. Nope. I am the media at the end of the day. Right. So whatever's out there is out there. But
I totally agree with what you do. Yeah. You got a business to run and you have your reputation. So your business is basically your reputation, in which you have a great one. You probably have one of the biggest platforms around. That's why I'm here. And so for you to put your reputation on the line for that, I wouldn't do it either. So kudos to you.
Well, when it comes to Keefe's defense, his lawyer said that everything that Keefe has said in interviews and in the proffer agreement was for entertainment purposes only. I guess not so much the proffer agreement, but in the interviews was entertainment purposes only. He needed the money. And to be fair, I did pay Keefe for his interviews. He got appearance fees for those interviews.
Right.
And according to the lawyer, he needed the money. This was a way to make some money. It's all lies. And he just said whatever we wanted to hear to make a few extra dollars because Keefe is kind of broke at the time. And that's their main defense. Do you see this standing up in court?
Yeah, because what does he have to lose? A lot of people disagree with me. I talk to my buddies and they say, no, he's going to take a deal. He's going to take a deal. I'd take a deal. But what does he have to lose? You know, he's already old. He's
like 61 years old.
Yeah, he's got cancer. And so if he takes a deal for, I'm just saying, he takes a deal for 15 years instead of 30, just saying.
Yeah, he'll probably die in prison.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what does he have to lose? And if I was the defense, what else are you going to come up if you're the defense? You got to get one of them jurors to say, yeah, he was BS and he was bullshit. But he's got to, you know, that's up to the jury. But I think after you hear what their mentality was like and what a shot caller does and all that kind of stuff, and then his self-incrimination, I think they have a good enough case to win. I really do.
So you think based on all the evidence that's out there, he'll get convicted?
I do. I think that based on all his self-incriminations, because he just didn't do it one time. He wrote a book and he did it several times.
Multiple
And
interviews.
you could see in his face some of them times whether the jury's going to believe him or not. See, oh, well, yeah, we looked at each other. I saw him ducking or whatever. He jumping in the back seat. I thought he was dead. You know, them are statements that are going to hurt, you know? So,
right. And you know, in my interview with Katie, we talked about the possibility of Suge Knight being a witness in this case.
You would run into a lot of credibility issues. And I think that the district attorney would be evaluating very heavily whether or not you would ever even want to put a guy like Suge Knight on the stand, even if he could provide that kind of testimony. I think you can accomplish your trial without it. You put Suge up there and it's gonna distract from the statements that Keefe D made himself. Suge Knight on the stand is, you know, it's a wild card. And why throw a wild card into your equation if you don't need to?
Because technically, according to Keefe, him and Suge locked eyes
right
before the shooting, and they've known each other forever. And I think he even claimed how after the shooting, Suge said something like Keefe D's nephew, and he kind of ID'd him in a certain type of way. But Suge Knight has always had a stance of, I'm not cooperating. But time goes on, you get older, you get tired of being in a prison cell,
Mm-hmm.
you have your little ace in the hole, you know, you got that card you could pull out. You know, if he's the star witness where he says, no, I was in the car along with the victim, Tupac, and I saw Keefe, he's in the car, there he is. Would that actually affect the case? Or would Suge Knight bring so much chaos and the fact that he's not, you know, he's lied in the past and everything else like that, would that actually just complicate the case?
I think it'd bring more chaos because, yeah, obviously he was there, right? He got shot or whatever.
He got shot, yeah.
But so what he's done is he's lied so many times, you know, saying that, oh, it was.
Yeah, he said Orlando wasn't the shooter on his podcast.
And all that kind of stuff. And so.
Well, Orlando actually testified on Suge's behalf to say that Suge wasn't kicking him to try to get him off, which didn't work.
So, I mean, my whole thing with Suge is what he did to his own people. Because when you really think about it, he got shot, Tupac got killed, and his gang, his entourage went to war for him.
Yeah.
Think about that. They went to war for him, and then for him to say that, oh, it wasn't Keefe D, he wasn't involved or whatever, that's a straight diss. These people got killed and shot over defending him. So, you know, that's pretty effed up in the gang world itself. So that's on Suge, though. He's got to live with that. But
well, Keefe D in my interview said, if I go to jail for Tupac's murder, Reggie Wright Jr. should go to jail for Big's murder.
Well, I have a lot of respect for the rights. His daddy is my mentor, so I don't talk ill of the rights.
Okay.
I got too much. I'm too close to them. So
Fair enough.
if he's involved, that's on him. But that's why I say I don't talk about the open murder. I don't talk about him at all.
Yeah.
Because I just can't do it.
Well, Tupac's stepbrother, Mopreem Shakur, said that after Tupac got killed, Puffy called him and said that he wasn't behind the situation. But he also feels that Diddy should be investigated for the murder case. Which you said is probably not going to happen.
Right.
But the stigma of it still holds.
Yeah,
this day.
for sure. But I mean, look at how much time's gone by.
Yeah.
How the heck are they going to get any evidence? Or, you know what I mean? And who are they going to base it on? Keefe D statement?
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
I just can't see it happen as much as they want it to.
Well, former FBI agent Phil Carson, he criticized Greg Kading.
Oh, so I'm not the only one?
No. Who exactly is Phil Carson?
I know he's an FBI agent. I saw him in one of them documentaries, and that's all I know about the guy. I guess he went in to LAPD. I know as much as you do about him. I don't know the guy, but he went in and to investigate LAPD on corruptness or whatever. So I kind of don't agree with his assessment of things. I kind of agree with Greg Kading about LAPD being corrupt and Mac and Perez are involved. I think that's been disproved. That's my personal opinion.
Right.
So,
and then Michael Couet, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right.
Couet, yeah.
Couet, he also criticized Kading for not involving the Las Vegas Police Department.
Right. So
who is Michael Couet?
Michael Couet, they were like Tim and I, his partner Paul Fournier and Mike Couet. They were sheriffs, but they worked the Century Station right next to Compton. Okay. So we worked with them guys all the time. Great guys. Again, 32-year veterans. They retired. Both of them retired. Respectable, great careers, great cops. Okay, that's all I could say about them. I mean, so I just believe what they say, what they told me. So.
Yeah. Well, the trial for Keefe D is set on June 3rd, 2024, but these things get pushed back.
Yeah, it's not going to go. I doubt
you don't think that's going to happen in June?
No, not at all.
There's going to be discovery and
too
lawyers
many
or new lawyers need to get caught up. And it depends whether Keefe will get out of, if he could post bail somehow, someone puts up that money. But ultimately, he's in a situation where he's 61 years old. Unless they give him like a time served plea deal. I mean, this is a serious murder case.
I know.
Any plea deal is going to be what? 10, 15, 20 years?
You're looking at a lot of time no matter what.
I mean, do you think it's going to go to trial or do you think it's going to be a plea deal?
Well, a lot of it depends. I think it will go to trial, but a lot of it depends. Now that you brought it up, is all these motions to suppress, gang evidence or whatever, his statements or whatever. Let's see what gets through. Let's see what the judge says on all these motions, and then they'll go from there because he might say, well, I might have to take a deal here. So.
Yeah, look, Suge Knight took a 28-year plea deal.
I know.
He's still locked up to this day.
I still think he had a good self-defense.
Oh, yeah. I think if you take Suge Knight out and put like some little old lady in the car, it would absolutely be clearly self-defense.
There has to be something else to that because I can't see him not fighting that. I was shocked when he took that deal, really.
Well, but I think he got caught with witness tampering along the way. I don't know if you heard this whole story. His lawyers got convicted.
Oh.
His lawyers lost their law licenses. He was trying to bribe a witness to say that.
See, there's more to it that I don't know.
No, yeah, exactly. It was like, well, number one, he had 2 strikes and he was facing 3 different felonies because it was not only the murder, the killing of Terry, but also there was the threatening of F. Gary Gray, And there was also a situation with a paparazzi where he ended up taking this woman's camera away from her. And from what I understand, it was like if any of those he was found guilty of, he would get life.
Oh, okay. So I knew there was more to it than
you know
that.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It was,
yeah.
and like I said, then he tried to bribe, him and his lawyers tried to bribe a witness to say that the guy that beat him up, Bone, had a gun. And it was just so much on so many levels that if they get him on one thing, he's never getting out.
Yeah,
so he
it
might
kinda
as well
makes sense now.
might as well take the 28 years and maybe, I don't know, get out in 14.
Right.
I might see the light of day again. This seems like the best situation with all these bad situations on the other on the other side. So yeah, well, look, I mean, you were deeply involved in this whole story. I didn't know that, you know, Orlando Anderson tried to kill you at one point.
Yeah, that's well.
I mean, when you found out that Orlando got killed, was there a certain level of, I don't know, karma that you felt in the situation? This guy tried to kill me and now he ends up getting killed in a similar fashion?
I say that about a lot of, because like I said, a lot of these guys get off on a lot of stuff because witnesses don't want to come to court. And our mentality, Tim and I's mentality is that you can't take it personal. You know what I mean?
But you're still human.
Yeah.
If someone tried, you know,
No, I get it.
people try to kill me before and I feel some type of way about it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know, but it was just, that's part of the gig, you know?
yeah, that's true. I'm also not a cop.
So it's
Regardless of what people may think.
I know. I see some of them comments.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but it's like, I don't take it personally. And I always say, hey, if I don't get them on this one, they'll get what's coming to them and down the road. And sure enough, that's what happens most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, if you live this lifestyle,
Yeah,
you may think that God is looking out for you, but really it's just the law of averages.
exactly.
Every time you keep rolling the dice with your freedom, doing heinous activities,
Yeah.
you come closer and closer to either losing your life or doing the rest of your life in prison.
Yeah. I've seen it happen every day.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's what it is. Robert Ladd, appreciate you coming in and sharing your story and really kind of getting more detail into what's happening. And, you know, we'll see where this Keefe D case goes.
Okay.
You know, we may bring you back again to chime in on what's happening.
Okay,
Because
yeah,
there's going to be a lot of interesting twists and turns, I think,
I'm
along
sure
the way.
there will. Looking forward to it, man.
That's what it is.
All right.
Peace.